smugglers, how are you doing? So today I have Lauren with me. We're going to have a great discussion about healing with trauma and all sorts of things. She's going to introduce herself. But if you don't know me, I am an energy healer as well as a Hellenist and a witch and a tarot reader. I do it all. I love it. So if you don't know me, do subscribe or do follow, depending if you're on Spotify or what and YouTube. So that'd be brilliant. So Lauren, would you mind introducing us yourself and just explaining your journey, please?
Yes, of course. So my name is Lauren Perlingi. I am an intuitive human design business guide and trauma healer. I have a lot of other titles, but for this purpose of this podcast, that will do for that. So basically, what I do is I help women with multifaceted trauma liberate themselves from their past, go from that victim mentality to victor. And I basically focus on sharing human design in a way that's very simple, practical, and usable. And that's for me what explains the mysteries of this thing that we call life, which is also the reason why I named my business the Mermaid Light. Because I believe that every woman, and not just woman, but every person on this planet has a unique purpose and a gift to share with the world. And we're all here to help each other tap into that inner wisdom and courage so we can live life with meaningfulness and purpose. So that's kind of a little bit about who I am. Plus, you guys I would love to connect with everybody that's listening to this. I'll make sure that you have all of you
Links,
have all of
yes.
my links for everything. To be able to connect with me. If any of that intrigues you, or like, oh, I need to go look at, more about who she is and all that. So
Yes.
it's a
Because
little bit of Cliff Notes version about who I am.
no, that is awesome, lovely. Because that is one thing I actually encourage my followers to do because I always say my path may not be the path you need to be on. And I always say that to them, and they find that really weird. They're like, why are you pushing us on top of people? And I'm like, I'm not. You may need someone else's guidance. Like this human design's coming up a lot. I hold my hands up. I've never been into this human design thing. A lot of people have been trying to explain it to me, but it's very complex.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yes. So hearing someone's managed to actually simplify that's quite good.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have to do a session, later. But yeah, I feel like for people, there is some people that have said, "Oh, I make it very simple." So I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like, I want to. Maybe you can teach me something, right?" And then they teach it to me, or they say it to me, and I was like, so I take myself back to like acting like I don't know anything about human design, like nothing. And I'm like, that's still so overwhelming. Like it's just too overwhelming. And people are, as soon as it gets overwhelming to the point that like it's overwhelming, like people just shut down. Like it's a normal human function to just shut down. Like I don't understand it. You're talking different language to me. So I make it very simple to the point that like a 5 year old, like my 5 year old daughter would really understand what I'm talking about. It goes to emotions, or it's like the emotion and this is why you feel this way and this is that. So it's like if you understand astrology or you know anything about astrology, the energetics behind healing and all that stuff, it's like strategy with energetics with like everything combined. But it's like just remembering. I always tell people I don't need to teach you who you are. I'm just helping you remember who you are. Like that's
Yes.
really what it is about.
So this is where I'm finding it really strange. So what I've been taught when I was 25, this is actually something similar to what I got taught. But back then it was called energy cleansing and cleaning your energy and sort of getting you out of this victim mentality. It weren't so much the astrology side as it was just the sort of energies feeling side. And I think that is one thing that's important. And one thing that I loved about you was when you said about the fact you deal with trauma and helping people's energy. And I was just like, I'm so intrigued on how you do it. Not to sort of compare. I know that's the way I've said that. I feel like that sounds like I'm saying I want to compare, but not that way. Just sort of like, how do you do it with human design? Like, I can't explain how I'm like excited to hear about that.
Yeah. So a little bit about like my backstory on like kind of like how I got to where I am today is for me, I was like navigating like really intense anxiety, which a lot of people probably can resonate that are listening to this, and a really deep sense of hopelessness. And like nothing in my traditional world about I guess it's been more of like 7 or 8, maybe 9 years if I think about it. Nothing was giving me answers. Talk therapy was not giving me answers. Nothing about the Western side of medicine, not knocking that. I know that we
Yeah.
need that, but it's just not, it wasn't helping. Like I kept asking, like, there has to be something more. There has to be something more. So like as one does, scrolling on social media, I was going through Instagram and I stumbled upon like a human design post. So I made my chart. I didn't think anything of it. It's like the first time in my life that I was like, what is this? But after I made my chart, I felt like, oh my goodness, this is actually what I've been searching for through my whole life. So obviously, my spirit team in the universe was like, here you go. Fine. Like, here's your answer. So then basically I felt like my soul could like breathe. So like everything in my chart just like really made sense to me. And I know it's all in my human design, but I like to research. So I had to kind of, like I said, it was probably like 9 years ago. I felt like, oh, this is everything that was coming up that I was reading in my chart from like all of the free stuff that I did. I self taught myself human design, and this is where I got my framework from. I coming from somebody that knew nothing about any of this. I mean, yeah, sure, like astrology was something that I was always really passionate about. I understood, not to the point that I understand it now, but like I didn't understand that, aspects really matter, the houses really matter, all the other stuff in there, which if it's true that all of us are energy, so is astrology, so is human design. So it's like this just kind of went deeper. I always say human design is like a astrology on steroids. It just goes deeper. So that's pretty much where I got my framework to not just understand myself, but everybody else in every situation I've ever been through. Because I was a mirror to realizing when I go back to that victim mentality, for the longest time, I feel like all of us are in victim mentality through survival mode. We have to be, right? We can't just be
Yes.
like, we can't be in victim mentality when we're trying to get through probably the toughest, hardest parts of our lives. Like, and it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody has trauma. Like when I meet people who are like, oh no, I don't have trauma. And I'm like, are you human? Like, do you like, if you tell me you don't have trauma, then I'm like, okay, I'm questioning, like, okay, so maybe you're not human then. Because all of us have, I don't think the level of trauma people are realizing that, like, a heartbreak at when you're, 10, 12,
Yeah.
13, 14, 15, that's trauma that just gets stuffed down. And then another experience, you can't feel it. And then you can't feel it. And it's trauma. And it's, oh, that's just what happens. That's just life or whatever our parents told us. And then I realized that's actually just conditioning from society. That's from what we chose here, when we
Yeah.
chose to come to earth, whatever that is. And then I realized, oh, okay, so now I can actually honor the way that my energy naturally flows through my body. But I can't do that when there's trauma in the way. And nobody really talks about the energetic portion of trauma healing. So that's where I kind of bring in human design. But I also use shamanic practices too, because I'm a shamanic practitioner. And I use theta too, theta Reiki, because, Reiki is powerful. Everybody
Oh,
knows what Reiki
yes.
is. But it's like, you can have Reiki sessions every single day. It's not going to help you if you're not replacing it with a new belief. It's just going to, people, again, I also believe, not knocking the spiritual world with, or the spiritual community with Reiki, but I also feel like the way that some of these Reiki practitioners practice it is like, oh yeah, Reiki can heal you, but they don't ever teach you how to actually
Heal
implement.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't need another healer to heal you. Like I think a lot of times that's also not talked about. I talk about it a lot on my own podcast because I'm like, I'm here to help guide you, walk beside you, but I'm not going to do anything different than you're going to do for yourself. I'm just going to teach you how to do it
Do
and
it.
then you do it, you know? So that's kind of how my path evolved into Theta Reiki because I believe that if you don't have the energy portion with the mindset, you can have all of the knowledge and wisdom and all the things in the world. But if you don't have that theta portion, which is just mindset pretty much, it's that subconscious like, theta Reiki works on the deep subconscious level. So like affirmations are not going to work. People tell me all the time, oh, well, affirmations don't work. Well, of course they're not going to work. If you have deep trauma from 5, no affirmation is going to change your belief about that trauma when you were 5. But theta Reiki will, or a shamanic practice will. So it's like I could teach about human design all day long or astrology. It's not going to actually change and heal what you believe from a deep subconscious level. And that's an old story that old story is literally where that trauma lives. So you're going to keep repeating
The same
those
mistakes.
patterns. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep repeating those patterns. And people are like, oh, well, how do I change it? You have to change that story, meaning that belief. That's the only, you can't change the past, but you can change the story that you continue to tell yourself. That's why you continue to like repeat the patterns. Until I did that for myself, I couldn't teach that. I didn't had no awareness on it. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I integrate all of them together and I made it the framework for what I teach my client, like what I do with one-on-one clients.
Yeah, see, I love that. So you mostly saw me when you mentioned other Reiki practitioners. I myself, I do Reiki. I don't really call it Reiki anymore. I now call it energy cleansing.
Yeah,
And the reason being is because I say to them, unless you're going to do my meditation along with it, this isn't going to work. Unless you're going to do, so I have a special meditation. I actually put videos up now on YouTube for it, where I teach them the techniques of breathing out the negativity, bringing up their white light, um, and as well where people go, oh, clear your mind during meditation. I hate that when Reiki masters tell you to clear your mind. I'm like,
yeah,
you no, 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 don't clear your mind. Let that thought play. And if it comes too negative, breathe it out, send it away.
right,
And people are like, no, 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 you've got to clear your mind during meditation. I'm like, no, because you're not going to deal with what's going on. You
right,
aren't going to deal with it. If you just let it manifest and you're not, as a Reiki master, we're meant to be, yeah, we want them to come back. Let's be honest. We want them to come back over and over
right,
again.
yeah,
But I would rather someone be healed than having them spending grands with me because to me, I'm not doing my job.
right,
If that may, and so I did absolutely love what you've just said. And everyone does have trauma. Me and my friend often say about our children that they don't have the trauma as severe as what we have. They have the normal teen trauma, sort of like the bullying, the looks, the comparing ourselves to people on social media, that sort of thing. But that even is trauma. And I don't think people realize that, even looking through, and we go, oh, that person's so much prettier than us. Someone at some point in our life has told us we're ugly.
right,
And that is why we're doing that. And that is trauma.
right. Yeah,
Um, and I think that's one of the things that for me, I just love about what you've said. So I do apologize, lovely. That's made me like, I absolutely love that. And I love the fact that you've pointed out, I don't find it's just Reiki. I do find there's some life coaches
yeah.
doing
It's the
similar stuff.
whole. Yeah, I was gonna say it's the whole. Sorry, I apologize. My if you're watching this on YouTube, my eye has been twitching for the last like I don't know. It's been 24 hours now. That my eye is twitching. I'm gut like I feel like I'm. It's like some ancestral stuff that I'm clearing out myself. That I'm like my eye keeps twitching, but it's like I feel like you're staring at it when I'm on camera. It's just like twitching. Anyway,
No,
um,
I didn't
yeah,
even notice, lovely. I hold my hands up.
but I was gonna say good. Um, so yeah, so I feel like I think it's just the whole entrepreneurship, it's the whole like spiritual community, like that includes anybody that like does stuff online. I feel like a lot of it's like spiritual bypassing. Even if they're not like spiritual or they claim to be like spiritual, you still have to go through some type of like mindset. I always say that entrepreneurship is like really expensive self development because it is.
Oh,
And I feel
yes.
like a lot of people try to bypass some things, especially when you just had said about, oh, clear your mind. Like, what does that? I always used to say to my mentor when I first, like, she, was like introducing meditation and stuff. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, why do you want me to clear my mind? So like suppress everything that I'm actually going through in this moment. So like, what is that teaching me? To just ignore the things that I need to actually focus on? Like, what is that? What is this helping? And like, she never really could tell me. Like, she never like, oh no, that's, you just have to meditate. And it's like, now I believe meditation is being aware of your thoughts. So like, what are you thinking about? So like, if I were to tell a client, clear your mind, they'd be like, well, what? I'm not thinking about anything. So I don't even like the whole, like the shit that they say about mindfulness and all that stuff. I'm just like, can we talk about the reason why mindfulness is bullshit? Because it's, what do you mean by that? Like mindfulness, like it's more like a self-awareness tool, which again, human design is a self-awareness tool. It's a self-awareness of yourself. And it's like, if more of us teach about self, meaning what do we believe about ourselves, that's the same thing that we believe about other people. So it's like you have to start, you know what I mean? It starts with yourself. And I feel like that's also not talked about. I feel like people think they
Yes.
talk about it, but they don't.
This is one problem I'm actually having. So I've got a couple of people that are around me at the minute where I'm trying to teach them, trying to train them, and I am a nightmare because the one thing I'm aware of it. I know I'm a people pleaser. That is part of my trauma. I am a
Yeah.
people pleaser, and I really struggle with these people that come to me that in some ways are stronger than me. I know that sounds really strange, but they are in some ways. And when you're trying to explain to them, hold on, you're actually still victimizing yourself and stuff like that. And they're going, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And you're like, oh, rail back a bit because, the people pleaser comes in me. And I'm like, I don't want to upset this person, but we're not going to
Yeah.
get further. I can see we're not going to get further because a lot of people don't recognize themselves. Like I could name all my flaws and I can name all my pros. And people are really shocked at that. They're like, how can you just openly say, this is my flaws, this is my pros? And I'm like, what you don't realize is for me, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me feel bad. It doesn't make me feel anything. I know when it's severely affecting me, I come out in meditation and then I've got to deal with it. And this is one thing that I think is a massive issue that a lot of teachers are teaching people. And I'm sorry if any teachers are watching this that are teaching people to clear their minds, but it's not a good thing because I do believe, same as yourself, Lauren, and it's so nice to speak to someone else that actually does believe this, to be honest,
Yeah.
that they are what our spirit guides are telling us we need to deal with.
Mhm.
I also believe it's our natural body saying that you need to deal with this. This needs to be dealt with.
Right.
And that is one thing that worries me that a lot of these guides are not telling people to deal with their shit basically.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like a lot of too, and I think a lot of it, even like other spiritual entrepreneurs I talk to, like friends and, like clients or like other people that I've been talking to have always like brought to my attention that it's like, so this is what my experience, and a lot of people I think the end of last year have gone through an experience that they've invested into a coach or they invested into a mentor and they didn't get what they should have got out of it. And I've seen a huge wave of narcissism coming through the spiritual space of like,
Yes.
so I mean, I was, I don't want to say that I don't, there's, okay, so I was part of it, like not me doing that to people, but I was part of experiencing. One of my mentors was very ego based, money, 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 money. And then I was like, so it made me actually look at it from a different perspective. Because at first I was like, I kind of got into this space of why do I feel shame when I read her post? Why do I feel like she's talking to me? Why do I feel like every single time that I read a post of hers, and she was a mentor I invested thousands, I'm talking the highest amount that I invested in, that was supposed to help me kind of not feel like that. But I felt like I was being victimized from reading her posts. And she liked feeling that way. So she likes feeling superior. And like now, thank God somebody got to her. I don't know who got to her, but she's changing things now. It's not so, this is who I am. this is what you need to do. Cause I had said to another coach that I trusted a lot that like has, mentored me before, that I said, this is how I feel when this, and she was like, it's not you, Lauren, it's them. So she's projecting in her content shame, guilt, all of those lower vibrations that all of us probably feel. But then that's the way that you're buying from her. And I was like, that's exactly why that's why I invested in her, thinking that it was not another lesson of mentorship, but it was. And I realized, I wonder if anybody else has ever gone through this. I mean, I'm sure, I just assume that people have collectively. I can feel the collective energy. So it's like I started talking about it and people are like, no, literally the same thing happened. So I was like, well, what? Here's me. I'm not going to stay in victim mentality. I obviously need to see it, right? But then I'm like, so what is this trying to show me? And it's like, I don't need to invest into one more. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't invest, but it's like you have to learn to like listen to your intuition. And it was more of me
Yes.
not listening, me ignoring my intuition, red flags after the price of red flags a month. The price should alone a month should just have been like, okay, that's an answer in itself. But then I was like, no, 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 no. I'm going to ignore my intuition and I'm just going to go because I feel like she could help of like, of what she said and how she's making content. But as soon as I got in, like maybe 4 or 5 weeks in, I realized that, oh my God, like, why do I feel shame and guilt? It's not my own shame and guilt. It was hers being projected. And I don't even, to this day, I don't even know if she realizes that happened. We've had a conversation, but it was more of like me taking ownership for my accountability piece because it was most of my stuff. But at the same time, it's just like I've seen a shift in her own content because she's also very self aware too. And that I don't think was her intention, but she still affected a lot of her, of her
Yeah.
clients from that. And the one thing I never want to do is do that to people and that is the one thing that, I think in meditation, when I had a session, like when I was like in meditation, like just like automatic journaling, the one thing I will never do is do that to somebody else because I know how painful it feels. And it's like, I think that is what I came out of it. I mean, there's a lot of great opportunities and connections that I made, and it made me a more stronger person. But at the end of the day, it's like I will never take somebody else's trauma and turn it around into a victory on mine. Like it's just, but I see it happen every single day, and it's just like,
Yes.
ugh, like it just,
Oh, yes.
oh, it makes me actually angry.
So this is one reason why I've come off TikTok. Everyone here, most of my followers are like, "Ah, Amy, again, you're talking about TikTok." So basically, I'll hold my hands up. I was earning 150 to £500 a week on TikTok,
Oh
and
wow.
I stopped my lives altogether. And people were like, "You're letting yourself go skin. You're letting your money out of your kit." And I was like, "Yeah, but look at me mentally. I'm not okay. I'm not okay with what I'm doing. I'm not okay with the fact I'm having to lie to people through tarot, that I'm having to lie because I can feel by their energy they cannot hear what I need to tell them. I'm
Right.
not okay with what I'm doing." I was like, strangers were buying tarot, and there'd be times where you could feel they were going to have a massive dip, but I knew if I told them now that they were going to have that massive dip, that was going to come sooner. So it was like they're
Right.
not mentally prepared for this. I'm having to lie to people. And I was like, not just that, I'm talking about their personal lives in front of hundreds of people,
Right.
not just one or two, hundreds of people. I'm putting out their flaws out there. Some of them I had to get them to message me because I could feel they was um, ready to take their own lives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is mentally draining me. This is killing me. So is this hundreds of pounds worth my own energy? So I took a massive step back, and people don't ever understand that. They're like, you gave up money, all that money, like to everyone else, everything's about money. And you gave that
Right.
all up for what? And I'm like, for me, for me
Right.
to be okay. And this is one thing that I've noticed over on there. I see these tarot readers guilting them into buying tarot. I
Yeah.
watch them guilting them into I get quite emotional over this, so I do apologise, sweet. I watch them lie to them, tell them that they can do tarot and they can't. And I sit there and it really upsets me. Um, I get really quite emotional. I do apologise because I watch so
No, it's
many
okay.
people being conned, and
Right.
it's so upsetting to watch so many innocent people that are really struggling. They're down on their luck. They're in the worst, because that is the time that you need us tarot readers. Let's be honest, is when you're down on your luck. You need that guidance.
Yeah.
And I watch them, and they're being taken the absolutely shemichael out of them. And I'm just like, how do I stop this? I report them over and over again to TikTok. TikTok doesn't do nothing. I put up videos and then people are just saying, oh, you're jealous of the money they're making. And I'm like, I was making that money.
Right. Yeah.
You're the ones which are being taken the mick out of. And I think this is the problem. I sometimes they don't realize what they're doing. I think some people believe they can read tarot. They believe what's put in the book is correct.
I was going to say, I feel like all of us can read tarot. All of us can. However, it's I don't want to say it's right or wrong because there's no right or wrong way to read tarot in my perspective. It's
No,
just that you have to be shown how to read the energy. And if you are reading the energy from your ego, not from a higher perspective, then you're going to give people the wrong messages. And that's what's wrong with that's what I feel like that's what you're saying is wrong, which,
yes,
yeah,
that is
yeah,
completely it. Yeah, completely it. Thank you, lovely. And I
yeah,
think this is the problem. And you've got these people where they are in touch, like your lady. She is in touch with everything and what she's doing. She can recognize is wrong and stuff like that. Um, but I think afterwards, so this is a key afterwards, is how do they react when they realize what they're doing is wrong? Is a
right,
massive key.
right,
For me personally, some of the other tarot readers have come off after I've pointed out, you're reading the energy wrong. And
right,
they've actually come to me and spoke to me and they've gone, well, how would you have read this? And me and the person they were reading for has had a WhatsApp call and I've gone, look, this is what's going on in your life, isn't it? And she's gone, how the what? And I've
right,
gone, that's the difference in between reading her energy and
right,
putting it into the tarot and just dealing a deck of cards.
right. Yeah.
Um,
Because I feel like too is I just talked about this actually. Like I love TikTok, but I don't like TikTok for that reason. Like I do, and one of my friends will do lives and stuff to like just talk about whatever weekly. And one of the things that she's a really good she's really good at astrology, really good tarot reader. And I had said something to her. I forget what week it was that we were talking, and I said to her, like, how about if somebody comes to you and asks you a question about something? Like, no tarot readers, like, we're not telling the future, we're just reading the current energy. And I said to her, say that again, because I feel like people are on TikTok and they're like, I watch people on YouTube sometimes. I'm like, oh, they're reading the energy because somebody said, well, somebody read the energy of the month, and I was like, what do you think that they're using to read the energy of the month? They're using astrology to read the energy of the month. They're not now. Tarot is the physical card that people need to see for that energy, right? But they're not reading your tarot energy for the whole month, and I feel like that's also a misconception and a myth that people that we talked about on this live that I feel like people don't know. They think that you're reading cards for the entire month. And I was like, no, they're reading the current energy and then like maybe a decision that you need to make on that energy. And then that energy can switch. I mean, like I do before I got into the tarot, I used to be like, oh my God, if I got the devil card or I got death or whatever, like I'm like, oh my God, like my life is ending. But it was more of like, this is a warning. Hello, you need to look at this. to shift it. But like just because that card says that doesn't mean that your whole life is ending. But I feel like people in that vulnerable state, which is in that vulnerable state, you could get somebody to do anything. And that is what humans play on to get people to
Yes.
buy what they want, do what they want. That's that like old paradigm, which there I don't know the actual transit off the top of my head right now, but like right now there's something transiting that will come, I think, Monday in Saturn that these people that are doing this stuff are going to be exposed. And I think a lot of it in the world has already been exposed.
Oh, I'm
So
so
it's,
glad at that
you
one.
know, I don't want to say this. I don't want to say this out of like context, but I do. I literally just seen a video about it, and I was like, oh, something in Saturn. Something is something. There's some type of transit that's happening right now that, or it's going to happen. That will everybody like people that have been gaslighting, manipulating, all that stuff, they're going to be exposed and their karma. Oh, because Saturn's about karma, so their karma is coming to them. So it's either their business is going to go down the drain, they're going to have to make a decision about something or whatever. So it's like the universe always has our back, I feel like. But I feel like us, people that can see it, have a platform to speak about it, need to just speak about it more and stop playing into people's bullshit, pretty much.
Yeah, see, I hold my hands up. So I speak about it a lot on TikTok on my so I have two TikToks. I have one for my content creating and then I have one for my tarot, my business side.
Yeah.
And I speak a lot about it on my business side. And people are quite shocked at me. And it's like I remember funny you say about the death card. So I pulled a death card out and I went, oh, I need to message you because I don't do pregnancy on lives. And she was like, why are you
Yeah.
messaging me? And I'm like, oh, by the way, you're pregnant. When I messaged her and she was like, how did you know? And I went, oh, the death card. She went, oh, it means I'm going to have a miscarriage. I was like, no, 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 it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It means you're pregnant. It's fine. The baby's going to be fine. I just want to reassure you. But
Right.
I think this is the thing. They're working on that paranoia. And to hear the fact they're going to, oh, I'm glad Saturn's coming in. I'm not good at astrology. I'll hold my hands up with everyone. But I am so glad with that because I know for a fact she went to someone else for a reading and the death card did come out for her. And she come to me and I didn't realise to confirm she wasn't having a miscarriage. And that is
Uh,
the reason she had actually come to me. So when I confirmed that in message, funny enough, she's had a baby recently. I kept
oh,
in contact with her and I was like, this is scary that someone didn't know the death card can also mean that. So hearing that that type of person is going to get their karma, I'm like, yay! I
yes.
feel
I mean, I don't know
evil.
who these people are, and I don't really care. But like, I just know that my side of the street is clean. So it's like that's what I tell people. If your side of the street is clean, who cares what? Like, it's just nice to know that in your personal life when you know people are doing things wrong. And yeah, you can say it, you can talk about it, you can not direct it towards them. If we have platforms, we can talk about it. But it's like at the end of the day, it's not our job to make sure people get karma. I know there's a lot of people that feel like they are the ones that have to. Some of my friends were like, "Oh, can you help me do a spell on this person or that?" I'm like, "No, no, we're not. I'm not doing that. Like, you can do it. There's plenty of people that will help you do it, but me, no, 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 because I'm not attaching myself to that. So it's like you have, like, I always, but that's part of again going back to the victim mentality. I understand it because I used to want to be that karma giver. Like,
Yes.
oh, my ex husband did this to me. He deserves this. Well, who am I to say what I give? Because at the end of the day, I also decided to be in that relationship. Sure, my trauma and all the abuse that I endured in that relationship, it's not my fault because I didn't know better when I was, maybe I did, and my higher self probably told me, but I just ignored it. But it was like I thought an experience that I needed to experience to get me to where I am today. So it's like at the end of the day, everybody has that choice to leave, and it's that trauma that keeps us there. Same thing with like, and I'm probably triggering a lot of people saying this, which I feel like when I talk sometimes or I just walk into a room, I trigger people for no reason. But it's like I I like that because for one, if I trigger you, that means you're alive. That means that you're still, you may be self-aware or getting to be self-aware. And then it means that you can change it. Because if I always say, and I say this all the time on my podcast, that if you don't like your reality, change it. You're the only person that can change your reality, right? So it's like, if you are in this victim mentality, you're like, I don't know what to do. The best advice is to do something different. Or if you don't like what you see on like your life, you have to change it. Like you can't, you'll eventually get yourself to this place, which I got myself to, is I blamed everybody else for everything. Never could take accountability, never. And people say to me all the time, same thing with you, that they're like, how can you call yourself out? It's because I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Now, if you told me this 5 years ago, I probably would hate you. But like, it's because I didn't want to look myself in the mirror and be very honest with myself of like, why do I hate myself? Why do I hate other people? It's because I hate myself or whatever. It's like, people start to realize, and it gives you so much more grace to give people like those miserable people, the people that are always hating online. It's just like you can give compassion from that place, right? Because you're like,
Yeah.
gosh, I felt that. I know how that feels. Like, have the
Yeah.
day you deserve or whatever. It's like it comes from a place of like when people stop triggering you and bothering you, it's because you healed that. You accepted that part of yourself. So that's why it doesn't matter anymore. So yeah.
That is one of the things I have, one of the struggles I have. Weirdly enough, I was actually going to go straight back onto the same subject if you hadn't, lovely. Is this victimizality is one of the things that actually I really, really do struggle with is I don't get triggered. So when someone is being a victim and stuff like that, I don't get triggered by them being a victim. I more get frustrated because I want to grab their shoulders and just go, pack it in. Why can't you see you're better than that?
Right.
It's not even the fact of, I know this sounds weird because a lot of people are like, oh, but Amy, I've watched your podcast. You don't get, you're really, really polite and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, but when I'm doing my energy program and I've got someone where I'm trying to get past their victim mentality, it can get frustrating because you can see us that are healed, we can see the person you could be. We can see the amazing person you can be. We can see the amazing traits inside you. So when you're not getting past that one little blip, which it's not really that small, I'll hold my hands up to that. It's not really that small, but it does piss you off because you're like, how do we get you past this? How do I heal you further?
Yeah. I was going to say, well, I mean, I heard you say that you don't get triggered, but maybe your frustration or that pissed off is that trigger. You know what I mean? So it's like that could be something that you could look at. Here I am just
Oh,
giving all
I
this
know
list.
I've got a savior complex. So I do know I've got a savior complex, and I admit that to everyone.
Yeah.
I want, so since I was healed, I've had the problem where I want everyone to come to the point that I'm now at, which sounds really weird because I'm like, I'm really, I don't know how to explain it. So I speak to a lot of parents with send children because I have two send myself. And a
Oh,
lot of them are saying to me, oh, how did you deal with it, Amy? It's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And I will just say, what, when she's had a meltdown and she's hit me, and they do beat us sometimes black and blue, sadly. And I'll sit there and go, oh, I just go to the corner and meditate for 10 minutes. And they're like, do you not? I says, no, I don't want to explode at them. And people are quite shocked because in my childhood, there has been some smacks and stuff. So people are quite shocked at that when I say, no, it don't bother me. People are really shocked. And I'm like, because I'm over that bit. So now I have got the problem of my savior complex, which I don't deny to anyone. I'm like, I've now got where I just want to heal everyone. I'm like, come on, just heal. It's so easy to do. Just see the truth.
yeah. No, I was going to say, but I feel like you doing it first and you being able to do that is the reason why. Like that's why you can help people or you have helped so many people is because you do have tools and you're able to hold space for people. Because that's all, to be honest, that's all people need. Like sometimes
Yes.
on the like one-on calls, like I think that, oh, okay, we're going to talk about this. I can help you with this. And then it's like really whatever they need. And it's like they just need to vent for a whole hour. So it's like me just being a container that they can vent for a whole hour. And that is healing in itself because somebody is listening to them. Because, like, you know, your world doesn't stop. I literally just had a podcast recording last week about, this illusion of death and, like people talking about past, like near death experiences. And I always viewed a near death experience, I've had three that I view it different than the rest of the world. And it's like, my view is like, I never really had time to process it or like stop and look at it because the world does not stop. It just doesn't stop. So it's like, why would the world stop for somebody that needs like time to process things? It's like we have to force ourselves to like stop, evaluate stuff, process it because like the rest of the world is like the sun's gonna come up every single morning. Or if it doesn't come up, it's still gonna come up somewhere. Like it's still gonna go down at the end of the day. It's like that does not stop. So it's like, we have to figure out how to do it for ourselves. Like, have those moments, which is,
It,
why, I believe healing trauma is so important because with a lot of us in my generation, at least, we aren't like, we're generational like breakers. So it's like, and I don't want to say curse breakers because to be honest, it's not really a curse that any of us have this trauma. It's more of like, this is what we signed up to do. And people like, they're like, I didn't sign up for this. I'm like, well, somewhere you did. Somewhere you signed, you're here. I'm talking to you. You are here at some dimension, wherever you are. Like you did, this is your purpose. Like you're here to shift the collective. No, you're not going to change everybody. But sometimes I realized lately, I'm noticing that people here come to be the complete opposite because that is their role. So it's like I had to just accept the fact that some people are not here to wake up. They're here to actually do the complete opposite. So there
yes.
is duality. Because like people are like, I wish it was a perfect world. I wish it was world peace. Sure, so do I. But then like that's not duality. It needs dark and it
And
needs
it's
light.
like,
You know?
and this is one thing I talk about quite a lot with energy and victim trauma and stuff like that. I talk about yin and yang. And people sit there and they're like, everyone knows the yin and yang symbol, but
Right.
no one actually knows what it means. So
Right.
I'm like, I always talk to people. I did a podcast last night and I was like, live with someone else. And I was just like, you need to accept the darkness within. That's what yin and yang means. And people are like, what? Darkness, accepting darkness. And I'm like, yeah, you have to accept the darkness. I said, that intuitive thought that tells you to just walk over and hit someone, you need to accept that thought. You need to be okay with that thought. And they're like, what? And I'm like, you didn't act on it. That is a bit of your darkness coming out. For some reason, you've had that thought. We don't know why, but you need to
Right.
accept it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, I find a lot of people now aren't ready to accept the sort of yin and yang balance. They're not there is sort of like this half which isn't. They're not ready to accept the fact of the not just the darkness within. I don't think it's just the darkness within, but they're making everything light as well. So it's you've got this sort of like one bit which is a bit like ourselves, where I'm going to call us the accepting of all, and then you've got the ones which are only accepting the darkness, and then you've got the ones that are only accepting the light. And it's
Yes.
like, no, yin and yang's right. Life is grey. It's not
Right.
dark. It's not light. It's all of it.
Gray area. Yes. It's literally the when you mix black and white together, you get gray. Like that's when people are like, oh, well, the gray, I don't like the gray area. Well, of course you don't like the gray area because like that is the area that people don't feel comfortable in or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I was there too. Like I have I hated my ego. I didn't like my darkness. I was like, I need to do this whole love and light thing. That didn't work either. The whole manifestation, love and light, all that high vibrational, whatever. And I've noticed now I believe in all of it. I know it works, but now it's like I've never not been high vibrational when I was at that lowest part of my life. It was actually the most healing part. So it's like I now question like some of that stuff because I'm like, now these people are teaching how like vibration and stuff like that matters, which it does. However, if you heal the shadow, the darkness within, you're still going to have it. It's still going to be there, but you have self-control over it. So it's like it's not going away. None of that will ever go away. And I realize that actually makes your vibration go higher. It's not,
Yeah.
let me just be high vibrational. So it's like, I'm like, all these people that like, and I don't want to name drop, but especially I've just noticed in a community that a lot of people are really passionate about, like Tony Robbins. And I've noticed so much darkness, like hate and bullying. And I was like, oh my God, like, here's me. How did you guys not see this? And then I'm like, people are like, I never seen it. And I'm like, I've always seen it. He's very ego driven. However, he has a huge name because maybe he does do powerful things and, but it's all fake. It's all like, you can tell that's a very ego driven business. So it's like when people are like, oh, I want to be like Tony Robbins, I'm like, I want to be nothing. You get away from me. I don't want you around me. Because like maybe I do want you around me because I could teach you something. It's like, I distinctly remember one of my first mentors, which, you know, I'm not going to ever talk bad about her, but she has taught me a lot, but she's also taught me a lot of what I shouldn't do in business because she was like, I'm going to connect Tony Robbins. And I'm like, if that wasn't a red flag before I seen one, oh my goodness. Like, of course you want to. And that's how she ran her business, and she probably still to this day runs her business. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. I don't know anything like that. But yeah, like just those type of things are being really exposed. And when I heard about that, somebody that is in another community that I'm in that had said, basically exposing Tony Robbins and his community. And I don't think it's not him directly, but it's his community, and that's a representation of him. So if it's like, if he's accepting bullying and he's accepting, people to be made fun of, and if you can't have your own opinions and your beliefs, and who cares about your spiritual, like, I don't really care if you believe in God and that's the only thing that you believe in. Like, I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care if you don't believe in anything. I mean, the only thing I can help you with is like you have to at least believe in something higher than yourself. So it's like I don't care what it is. It could be Jesus, it could be God, it could be none of that triggers me. I mean, I think at one point it did because I had religious trauma, but religious is just man-made, and I feel like people don't see the truth to all of that. I mean, I do believe that we all come from the same source, and it's one source and that's it, and it's all like split, and I feel like that's when things get mixed, when things we're
So
all it's like split.
my followers will understand this because I speak a lot about my eldest. So my eldest, so I believe I worship the Greek gods, which you can sort of see behind me. That is just purely because I need to put a name to it. So that is my psychological. I need to put a name to it.
Sure.
And it was my daughter that made me question everything because she's severely autistic. She's had an obsession since she was 3 years old with the Greek gods.
Okay.
And she came to me one day and she was like, Mum, do you realize that every religion, including Japanese, Norse, pagan, Christian, she was like, all of them actually have the same stories. So she was reading me through them because she was absolutely obsessed with it. Sadly, autistics do that. So she was literally reading me through it all. And I was like, oh, wow, babe, I never realized that. Thank you for showing me that. And she said to me, what if Jesus, Hercules, and Thor are the same person, and Zeus is just the one God? And I looked at her and I was like, hold on, you're going to have to let me process this. Let me
Right.
process this. And she was like, so what I'm saying, Mummy, is there's one God. he has made a supreme race, which would be angels for Christians,
Right.
other gods for yourself. Like for me, it'd be Apollo, Artemis, etc. And she was like, for Norse, it'd be Odin's the main god. She says, but he's told different stories, so others would believe. And I've
Yeah.
gone,
Yeah. That's literally what it is. It's all different perspectives from whatever it is. Like same thing with like Buddha or if people are Muslim or it's literally all the same. There's like only one source, there's only one God. Like but it's all branched out to different things because Christianity or whatever religion that it's all for control. Like whatever wherever you were in the world. It's all some type of patriarchy or some type of structure. I mean, that's all like what Pluto and like Capricorn was, all like structure. Now it's like an Aquarius, and like people don't know how to act. Like oh my goodness, not I can control myself, or I can have my different beliefs, or I can whatever. I'm not gonna get into
oh
all of
no, no, no. I know,
politics
lovely.
stuff because like God, that would be a whole other podcast. But anyway, like that's why I don't like for me, like people talk about politics and like government and all that. I'm like, I don't care because it's all fake. It's all for control. It's all for fear. And that's what we're kind of getting away from. It's all
Yes.
an illusion that people want you to believe. And it's just an illusion that you either believe or you don't believe.
And I think in a way, and I'm not saying it's an illusion, by the way, when anyone thinks I'm saying victim blaming is when you're keeping yourself victimized. I'm not saying it's an illusion when I say this next bit, but I think in a way it is. So the reason why is it's an invisible force that we've put in our own brain to stop us going further.
I'm going to say, I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to say it is an illusion because it is. Like the truth of that, it is. And here's the thing if that triggers you, good, because that is the illusion. There is like psychosis. That's the illusion that you put yourself in. And like, poor me, this, and this. What if I just told you, what if like something dramatic happens? Sure, you need to process it. But what if like the whole thing goes back to the world continues to go? Nobody is going to stop because you think this or you think that. I mean,
True.
I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm saying this with all the love and compassion you possibly have, but it's like that is life is an illusion that we decide to choose. Like literally, that's all it is. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because if you say, Lauren, if I tell you this trauma happened to me, or this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, if you don't experience the same thing and feel the same thing I felt, you're going to be probably in your mind without saying it. Well, who cares? Like, who cares? Okay, so what that happened? Okay, what's for dinner? Or like, what are we doing tomorrow? Like, that's the truth. And that's the truth with anybody's things. And it's like, it sucks. It's like, wow, that person's really like heartless, but it's like the truth. That is the truth without emotion to it. That's like if you weren't even here anymore. Like, spirit guides and like people that are crossed over, they know how it is to be human, but they're going to tell you the truth without emotion. That's literally what it is.
Yes. They are a bit harsh, aren't you,
Same
Tommy,
thing.
wherever
Like,
you
why are
are?
you mourning me? Why are you, like, I've heard that so many times. Why are you mourning me? Why are you grieving over me? They don't understand it at their consciousness because there is no emotion anymore. That got stuck in their human body. Like humans have emotions. That's just like angel, archangels. Like, there's so many times they channel different stuff, and it's like they don't understand. They do understand. Some of them, if they were human, they understand why we have emotions. But a lot of the times, they're going to tell you the truth, and they're going to tell you regardless of however you feel. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah. And I think as well, so actually on that subject of grief, because I get a lot stuck in grief as well,
Yeah.
I think that is awesome to say because I do get a lot come through to me and they'll be like, it may be a year and they'll be like, why are they still grieving me? Like,
Yeah.
why are they still grieving me? I never obviously transpire it as that. I often say, oh, they want you to get over it. They want you to grieve is usually
Yes.
my way rather than being a bit frank like they are
I'm not.
sometimes.
I don't say that. I would say people are probably gonna be like, God, she is harsh. It's not. I mean, like there's different ways to say it, but at the end of the day, what I'm going to say is going to come down to what they said. Like a lot of the times people won't come through. I've had one of my best friends that passed over. I understood very early on why she didn't come through for a very long time because I wasn't ready to hear the truth when I would ask different stuff. Because she would tell me, I would hear the truth, and then I wouldn't accept it. Or I'm like, there's too many emotions in the way, But when I channeled for her mom, she said specifically, you need to tell my mom she needs to hear the truth. And if she's not ready, then I won't hear anything. And that's the truth of it. If
Yes.
I'm not ready or that there, there's no, I'm not going to hear anything. And that's just kind of like the boundary that I set that if I'm not supposed to be saying this right now, then don't tell me. That's kind of like how the bound, because you have to have boundaries. Because if not, they're gonna like constantly talk to you all the time, you know. It's like
I
shut
have to shut the door sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I've
yeah.
had enough of my ears ringing now.
Yes, yeah. So it's like that's what it is. I mean, like, and I feel like that reflected back into our own life, mirrored back into my own life. That like when I'm not ready to hear something from somebody, if it's just like maybe advice from a friend or maybe somebody else or whatever, that I'll keep hearing the same thing, and until I'm ready to accept whatever they're telling me or change what I need to do or put action behind whatever that I'm like complaining about or whatever, saying the problem that I have, then it's not gonna it's not gonna come through. It's just not gonna connect. And then when it does connect, I'm like, oh shit, people have been telling me this for a long time. I feel like it's the same thing with anything in our life. So yeah.
I completely agree because one of the things as well for me personally, I try to explain to people is they're actually on a different plane. So their time actually moves a lot. I don't know whether it's faster or slower. I can't quite tell when they come through because some of them
Yeah.
have come through and they seem like they've been up there ages when they've only been up there like a year or two. Whereas
Yeah.
some have come through and they they seem like they've been up there 2 weeks. Like they're not quite sure where they are, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Obviously, 9 times out of 10, I'll admit they're usually spirits that I find out are stuck here due to the way they passed. Um, but at the same time, I'm like, how does this plane work? So this is what I explain to people as well. You've been grieving a year, but they've been gone to them 5, 6 years. Like
Right.
they've been gone for a long time. They're back with their family and friends. They're happy. They're
Right.
they've moved on, like massively moved on. They understand that we're going to be sad, and like you said, they do understand our emotions. They understand the fact that we don't yet have the gifts to understand grieving, to
Right.
understand how to get over being missing them sometimes. They do understand, but at the same time, they're a bit, you can hear it with some of them that are very advanced up there. I don't mean this rudely to them, and I please don't haunt me. Um,
Yeah,
but
no,
they,
it's like the consciousness. Like it comes to like consciousness. They're in a different level of consciousness. So it's like there's things that our consciousness in our body can't process. And I feel like a lot of things too, with my own grieving process, just through different things, because we grieve pretty much every day, regardless if it's actually somebody, a person, or if it's a past version of yourself or whatever it is. But it's like there is a lesson in that too. So it's like, how can you, like, what can you learn from that? Because a lot of the times, you know, people's perspective on death or whatever it is, or loss, I should say, that's mainly people's blocks, like, and like their heart chakra and how they can manifest, and they just keep manifesting more grief, more sadness, more this, more that. And I don't even think people are aware of that. Like, they don't even have the awareness of that.
so I find a lot of this with a lot of people, and I know there's going to be people which are watching this, which are my followers and stuff, and they're going to be like, oh, Amy, how can you say that? But I do know with some of them, they are, one of my lady now actually says to me, I am stuck in grief. I don't know how to get past it. And I'm like, this will take us a little while. It's fine. You've now recognized it. I've got another lady who can't recognize she's stuck on grief, but she's stuck on grief on someone that's still living. So it's like I'm
Mm,
trying to get her past that, which, if we're honest, getting them past grief of someone that's still living is actually harder than someone that's passed. Um, and I think this is one of the things for me that I do find the hardest is when they, with grief, is because I understand the spiritual realm, but they're not yet there.
yeah.
It's hard to sometimes explain to them and say to them, not that they've forgot about you. Like, I feel evil for saying that. They haven't forgot about them, but they're fully healed. They're happy. They've moved on.
They don't have their, like, the end of the day, they don't have emotions. So they don't feel. They're just pure light and pure truth of like whatever they're doing too.
Yes.
Like they have other roles they now need to go do. Like I've noticed that like, and I feel like too, a lot of people will dive into spirituality because they want a deeper understanding of grief. And that's what I did. I mean, I know a lot of people could do that too, but I know that's what I did too, because I wanted to understand, well, like I know that there is a, maybe not my human body, but like there's something after life here. I mean, like, because there's a good question that is a perspective that one of my podcast guests had asked on my podcast last week that comes out this week. But she said a question that was like, wow. She's like, do you ever have an awareness or a memory of you not existing? And I'm like, no, I don't. So it's like that was the same thing of like us telling us like, no, I don't have any awareness about that. So it's like, is there a something after? Or is it just like, do we just evolve to go to a different planet or we evolve in a different dimension? I mean, like obviously, like there's just so much stuff because like so could you imagine when you're not here, what happens? Like there is
So,
some different agenda that you obviously picked for yourself to go do. So it's like why, and that's another thing too with people with grief and trapped in grief and stuff. You trap them here because you're attached to them. So it's
yes.
like people that have other things to do, especially like my grandmother, or my grandfather, or like my best friend that passed. She obviously had a whole different agenda. Like, and so did my so it's like it was like more like, let me go. You have to let me go so I can go do what. And
What I
here's
need to
me.
go next. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, here's me. Well, what about me? Like, what about, and it's just like, and I always just heard from my grandmother, I will come back when you're ready. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, sorry, I can't cuss, but
No,
like,
you're all right.
like, what does this mean? Like, what do you mean you're gonna come back when I'm ready? What does this mean? Okay, I'm ready. But it's like, no, not like I had to process all of it. But now I understand what it means because that's exactly what it means. Like, I will come back and show you and tell you and answer all of your questions when it's time and when you're ready. And that was, you know,
No, I love that. Because it's funny enough, you've stepped on one of my daughter's other theories. So she believes that when we go to wherever it is we go, that people believe, she believes she calls it the divine. So she doesn't call it the one or anything, she calls it the divine.
oh, yeah.
She believes they separate the memories from this life from that soul, and that soul then moves on. So what we're actually talking to isn't even actually a soul technically, it is just the memories. So when we're talking to these spirits
Yeah.
and stuff, and I sat there and I'm like, where do you even, I hold my hands up, I ask her where she thinks this up. I'm like, where
Could
do
be.
you?
Yeah. That's it. You think about it, it's like because your personality here is going to be different than like a past life personality of yourself. Like you're not the same person in a past life, but you remember it's your memories, your thoughts, your past life, all of like that kind of goes back into like subconscious. It's all part of you, but it's like a different spirit. Like that's how reincarnation I feel like works. So I feel like that's a good theory because you're talking to their spirit. Like people don't understand when I know when somebody reincarnates. Like I do believe in my whole heart, I can prove it in astrology that my daughter is reincarnated from my best friend. I know it. I can prove it by her astrology. Like people that I talk to, like the general people that really don't understand, their birth charts are completely opposite. Like I can prove it. It's stuff I've channeled. It's all this stuff. But if they don't
Yeah.
believe in all that stuff, it's not just me. Because for the longest time, I had to convince my own self that that's who it was. But I can say different things to my daughter that my daughter has no idea about when my best friend was here that we did, and she will repeat. She will finish the sentence or just say I remember. And I just know I get like body chills talking about it, like to her, because I know my daughter wasn't physically here. So how would she know?
No, exactly. And I think this is
How
one of
she
the
know?
things,
Yeah,
this is why I love when we talk about these sort of feelings along with grief and stuff like that, because I feel like it shows people that they aren't stuck once they go there. And
right,
that's why, in a way, it links with victimization,
right.
because, in a way, once we get past that, this is what we can go to the next level. We can go to be reincarnated. I don't know whether you're I know I've been reincarnated so far. I believe it's 10 times so far I've been reincarnated. And I'm like, when am I finally going to the next level? Because I do not know what the next level is. And I'm like, when do I get to go to the next level? What is the next level?
Yeah, I joke and say that this is my last reincarnation on Earth. But however, how do I know? Like I don't know. I'm just tired of doing life lessons here. I really am. I'm not. I'm not interested in doing dense lessons anymore. Like I'm just not interested. So it's like it's funny how like I didn't sign up for this. Like so like I always joke and say like I must be really old because I'm tired and it's just I'm just not interested in another dense dimension again next
Yeah.
time.
Do we have to go through all this again? Please,
But I think I
please.
learned. I think I learned what I needed to learn. I cleared out karma that I needed to learn, which I mean, honestly, that's all the reason why we come to Earth is to clear out what we need to clear out. And
Yes.
obviously mine was, a lot to clear out. So it's like most of us older souls are like, yeah, no, I'm tired. My soul's tired.
Yeah, because it's strange you say that. So my husband and one of my other daughters are newish souls,
Okay.
and they were basically I don't know how to word it. So basically they were our neighbors in my last lifetime, but my other two children were my children in my other last lifetime.
Oh,
I know this sounds crazy. But at the same time I'm like so basically the thing I can get is my husband and my daughter are two very angry people. Like they're naturally angry. You know, when
okay.
you meet them people and they're naturally angry, there's nothing actually bothering them. So
Yeah.
basically, this is the karma that they're sort of taking over into with their soul, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
this is what they've got to learn to not be angry, to finally get past this.
Yeah.
Which is why I think they've been given to me to be the peace, because I'm like complete opposite. I am so chilled.
Yes.
So it's like I sometimes do sit there and think, is this finally my last time? If I actually get them so they're past this karma of being anger, is this actually finally my last time here?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
And it's maybe, yeah, because it's like you think about it, because it's like, I feel like, because of course, you listen to Dolores Cannon and you listen to all the ones, like you listen to all the ones like are like, what's after, because it's just curious. A lot of people want to know what's after, but it's like, does it really matter? Because like my consciousness will be in this body or like, wherever it's going to go. Like I probably say this every single lifetime. Like I'm tired. Like I'm tired. But it's like I just know that I'm clearing out so much and I'm like stepping into what I'm supposed to be doing. And again, I don't ever remember doing that because I do remember from past life regressions that I had to do the shamanic journey, probably right this lifetime, because of all of the other lifetimes that I've been in. or remember from past lives or like regressions or just visions of like, oh my God, I feel like I've been here before kind of thing, that I abuse my power. So I think a lot of the times that I get triggered or I get so angry because that's a past life thing coming up because I used to do that to other people, not this actual lifetime, but previous lifetimes, you know? So
Yes.
people, like even my husband will say, like I was talking about on my podcast one time about me being a slave. And he's like, why did you say that? I'm like, who, what, why can't I say I was a slave? Because in a past life I was. I distinctly remember who I was. It's like it comes up constantly for me, you know? Like the smell of cotton. I know exactly where I was. Like when I was working through all my sinus issues, like I would smell cotton. I felt like I literally had cotton stuck on my face. Like you can't explain that from a medical standpoint. That's not normal. Like nobody, and I would tell people this, and doctors would be like, "What? You smell cotton?" Well, let me look at the symptoms. I'm like, no, I just, of course, I didn't say in my past life I was a slave. They'd be like, "What? You need to go to mental institute." But like, like I don't say any of that stuff. But like, he's like, I just can't believe, and I was like, and that episode was probably the most listened to episode because of just how um, open I was about how past lives are literally your blocks in this life. So it's like if you're
Yes.
having a block, go get a past life regression done and figure out where that block is coming from so you can heal it for this life. Because if not, you're going to be stuck in this timeline with all your blocks because you're not like working through them,
Yeah,
And
no, I completely understand that because my past life, so I started off really wealthy when I first come here, and basically through the years I've got poorer and poorer, and I've realized in this life they want me to respect what I've got now.
right,
They've gone, right, you didn't respect, you just abused your power in
yeah,
them past lives. Now respect what you've got now. Actually respect what we're giving you now. Respect your children, respect your husband. And there's a difference between respect and allowing abuse, by the way, guys. So do not allow abuse with the think of it's actual respect. I just want to say that because I don't want anyone thinking that I'm saying it's okay. Um, but this is one of the things that for me, it's interesting that you bring that up because our souls have gone through these journeys that no one realizes, and they do cause triggers now, they do cause blockages now. And in a way, that's why when I talk to people about energy healing, I'm like, you're healing your soul. You're not just healing your trauma now, you're healing your whole soul. Um, and I think this is one thing, again, getting on about Reiki masters, they actually forget that that's in a way what Reiki is. It is actually healing the soul.
right,
And we forget that our souls can be hundreds to thousands of years old.
right.
I've just realised the time, lovely. So I'm going to ask you: would you mind leaving my followers with my listeners? I'm going to say listeners with a little last statement.
Sure. So if you, this is, let me see, there's a lot of things I could say, but I feel like the one message that I feel like we talked a lot about, like feeling stuck in your past, maybe, or maybe not know how to move forward. I just want to let you know that you are not broken. You're becoming. The past shapes you, but it does not define you, and you get to choose where you're going to create from this moment forward.
Thank you so much, sweet. So, lovelies, do check out Lauren's links down below. I'll put them in the description. And never forget, guys, keep sparkling.